Archaeologists have discovered ancient burial grounds containing hundreds of sarcophagi, remnants of ancient civilizations that lived on the coast of the Black Sea in the ancient city of Tios, Turkey. This discovery marks a new chapter in our understanding of lost civilizations, particularly their funeral rites. How will this change the way we view the many colonies that came before us? 1. Necropolis found in ancient city of Tios. Also known as Tium, the ancient city of Tios was a past settlement located on the southwestern coast of the Black Sea near the modern Philios port in Zonguldak, Turkey. In July 2024, archaeologists excavating the area uncovered an ancient necropolis, what would be known today as a giant cemetery lined with hundreds and hundreds of sarcophagi or stone coffins. Professor Şahin Yildirim from Bartın University led the team of researchers who uncovered the site in the eastern part of the ancient city. Yildirim and his team have been conducting research in the area for the past several years, with excavations beginning almost a decade ago. So far, the team has unearthed close to 100 sarcophagi, over 20 burial chambers, 7 cist graves, and 60 frame tile graves. However, based on the discovery of over 1,300 funeral objects, researchers believe that there are many more sarcophagi left to be unearthed. Professor Yildirim believes that the ancient burial ground operated for over a millennium, from the 5th century BC to the 5th century AD. 2. History of the ancient city. Today, the lost Greek metropolis is contained within the district of the Turkish town, Philios, in Turkey's Asiatic region. Researchers believe that the Tios was founded originally as a colony of the Greek city Miletus in the 7th century BCE. According to legend, the city was named after a Milesian priest of the same name, who belonged to a Paphlagonian tribe. The town gained prominence for being the birthplace of Philetaerus, the founder of the Pergamon royal dynasty. Most of what we know today of the ancient city, and several others in ancient Greece, come from the Greek historian and geographer Strabo. He wrote that it wasn't until the 3rd century BCE that Tios, along with Sesamus, Cytorus, and Cromna, were morphed into a new community, Amastris. Tios separated from the community soon afterward to recover autonomous status. The ancient town became a part of the kingdom of Bithynia and flourished. Relics found in the lost city include coins and postage materials, indicating that Tios was on its way to becoming a metropolis before its decline. It's believed that the city was plundered toward the end of its days by the Romans, who seized all mining activities in the region. Tios was then reformed as a fishing town. 3. The City of Graves. According to Professor Yildirim, the necropolis found in the ancient city of Tios could be the largest found in the Black Sea region. He claimed that the discovery marked a new chapter in our understanding of Black Sea archaeology. The well-preserved nature of the sarcophagi is largely because, unlike other ancient Greek colonies along the Black Sea, Tios has been relatively well maintained as an archaeologically protected site. Professor Yildirim noted that the necropolis was most active between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD. He also noted that some sarcophagi were unlike the others, mostly the ones located along the flanks of a 500-meter avenue. These burial sites were designated for the wealthy of Tios and surrounding regions. 4. More discoveries made in Tios. The ancient Greek colony has fascinated archaeologists and researchers for several years, mostly because Tios is one of the few lost colonies that stayed relatively well preserved out of all the remnants of ancient Greek civilizations. In 2019, researchers discovered an iron ore pit, for which the Turkish government announced that Tios would be closed off to tourists until the excavations were completed. Professor Yildirim was the head of the research team in this case as well. Most of his work is centered around Black Sea archaeology, Tios being the hub of most discoveries and excavations carried out by his team. Yildirim claimed that the pit had been sacred for the people living in Tios. He elaborated that it dates back to the 7th century BC, at a time when cities started forming around the Black Sea. Calling the pit sacred was a testament to the fact that the people of Tios sustained themselves primarily off of mining activities. 5. Necropolis of Hierapolis. The Phrygians were an ancient civilization in the Indo-European region who settled in the Asiatic region of modern-day Turkey from 1200 to 675 BC. Hierapolis was believed to have been the holy city for the ancient civilization, a cult center for people who worshipped the Anatolian goddess Cybele. Under the Phrygians, the city thrived not just as a religious center, but also as a trading hub, with historians believing that it was once a center for trading high-quality fabrics and expensive dyes. In the present day, however, the city has transformed into a tourist destination with guided tours through one of its biggest attractions, the Hierapolis Necropolis. Modern-day Turkey is home to several necropolis, however. The Hierapolis Necropolis is one of the best preserved in the country. The cemetery extends for over 2 kilometers, lined by sarcophagi on both sides of the road that leads to the old Phrygian Tripolis. So far, all of the 1,200 grave sites have been excavated. Many people would travel to Hierapolis for religious healing. It was a last resort area for the sick from all over the region to be taken to the area's hot springs. Many families simply buried the sick in Hierapolis when they passed. Simple graves were designated for common people, sarcophagi were for the rich, and some families who buried several of their members in the necropolis constructed small temples in the region for their families. 6. Kyrenia Necropolis. Located on the northern coast of Cyprus, the Kyrenia Necropolis is one of the oldest cemeteries found anywhere in the world. It's located near the town of Kyrenia, which contains remnants of ancient Greek colonies from the many artifacts that were excavated from the region, including sarcophagi. Archaeologists found a series of elaborately constructed rock-cut tombs in underground burial chambers. The better the architecture of the tomb, the wealthier the deceased. Besides the coffins, the tombs would also contain artifacts such as pottery, jewelry, and other items placed alongside the deceased, believed to be an offering to the gods in the deceased's afterlife. On closer examination, historians were able to deduce that the artifacts belonged to different civilizations across the region, namely the Greeks, Egyptians, and Persians. This might have been because the island of Cyprus provided an entryway for traders into the eastern Mediterranean. 7. Necropolis of Cerveteri. Also known as the Banditaccia Necropolis, located in the Cerveteri municipality of the metropolitan city of Rome, the Necropolis of Cerveteri is one of the oldest cemeteries in modern-day Italy. Cerveteri was once an Etruscan city, home to the Etruscan civilization that inhabited the region from 900 BC to 27 BC, after which it was neutralized into the newly established Roman Empire. Today, the most famous tourist site in Cerveteri is the Necropolis, declared by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. Over 1,000 tombs have been excavated in the region, spanning over 900 acres, all found inside unique mounds. The most of these tombs is the Tomb of Reliefs. The structure of the mounds reflects changes in the funeral rites of the Etruscan civilization. 3 types of mounds can be seen: the pit type, the tumulus type, and square tombs that are commonly referred to as dice. Each mound has an interior carved inside a rock, featuring a corridor, a central hall, and several rooms. 8. Necropolis of Tarquinia. Better known as the Monterozzi Necropolis, this ancient cemetery found in modern-day Lazio in Italy also serves as a relic of one of the earliest civilizations in Europe, the Etruscan people. Over 2,000 tombs have been excavated from the region, some dating as far back as the 7th century BC. However, the most unique feature would be the murals painted over at least 600 of them. The Tomb of Leopards, the Tomb of Hunting and Fishing, and the Tomb of Bulls are just a few examples of the many murals depicting the life and times of the Etruscan people. It's believed that the murals, including how elaborate they'd been, signified social status. That might explain why not all of the tombs were painted. In any case, the painted tombs provide the largest documentation of the Etruscan way of life, their religious beliefs, and their culture. Most murals, however, depict their rituals with mythical themes found in almost all of them. This includes intricate artwork depicting animals and sacrifices. 9. Saqqara. People travel from all over the world to visit Egypt's historic step tomb, also known as the Pyramid of Djoser. This uniquely shaped pyramid is believed to have been the first stone pyramid ever built. Dating back to the 27th century BC, Djoser, the first king of the Third Dynasty, is believed to have ordered the tomb to be built earlier on in his rule. Historians believe that the king demanded the labor-intensive structure be completed during his lifetime, and it was. It's unclear how long it might have taken laborers to construct the first stone pyramid of its kind, that too on such a massive scale, but many believe that it took just under 2 decades. It was erected in the village of Saqqara and set a precedent for kings and nobles of high stature. 10. Necropolis of Petra. Petra has been revered by archaeologists as one of the most fascinating insights into the life and times of ancient Arab civilizations, namely the Nabateans. They were a group of nomadic people known for their stone crafting skills. On this note, Petra is a historic landmark visited by close to over 1 million tourists every year because of the many stone structures found in the Jordanian city. The Nabateans knew Petra as Rakhmu and established it as a trade and agricultural center. However, as the region flourished, they started carving structures in pink sandstone. Many of those structures exist to this day, which is why Petra has been nicknamed Rose City. On the road to visit a historic landmark in the region, the Theatre of Petra, tourists pass by the ancient city's vast necropolis. The cemetery contains simple sandstone grave structures as well as more elaborate tombs, such as the Mausoleum of Al-Khazneh, built around the 3rd century AD. The gravestones, however, are few and far between. Archaeologists believed that as trade flourished in Petra, all of its inhabitants were able to construct tombs and mausoleums for themselves, several of which belonged to whole families in the region. Today, Rose City stands as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. 11. Zhongshan Grottos. Discovered in the 20th century, the Zhongshan Grottos are a series of ancient Buddhist temples that were carved into Mount Zijin in modern-day Nanjing, China. It's believed that these ancient temples date back to the Southern Dynasty's period that lasted from 420 to 589 AD. What makes the Zhongshan Grottos such a popular tourist site, however, are the intricate sculptures and carvings found in the caves. The Southern dynasties themselves were believed to have contributed largely to the cultural and religious landscape of the region, and the carvings in the Zhongshan Grottos were all religiously themed. The caves have not unfortunately been well preserved and have been subject to damage, including human-induced over the past several centuries. Historians believe that the caves were commissioned by wealthy nobles in the region who were devout to their Buddhist spiritual leaders and wanted to immortalize them. As such, a large majority of the people visiting the Zhongshan Grottos do so for religious purposes. 12. Meroe, located in modern-day Sudan. The ancient city was once the capital of the Kingdom of Kush until its collapse in the 4th century AD. Meroe exists as a historical landmark with over 200 pyramids scattered throughout the region. Unfortunately, many of them are in ruins owing to decades of neglect. The site exists 200 kilometers north of the city of Khartoum, and on the way to Meroe, tourists witness the remnants of the life and time Kingdom of Kush. Namely, they pass by spiritual centers meant for breeding elephants, the Temple of Amon dedicated to the lion god, and of course the site of the pyramids, which doubles as the Meroe necropolis meant for the rich and influential people of ancient times. 13. The Catacombs of Rome. Underneath the bustling Italian capital lies a series of extensive burial sites revered for their religious and cultural significance. These are the Catacombs of Rome that date back to the earliest Christian communities as well as other religious groups in ancient Rome, with the earliest dating back to the 2nd century AD. It's believed that the catacombs were created in an act of defiance by the Christians and Jews of the time who didn't agree with Roman funeral customs, namely cremation. Early Christians gathered in the catacombs to practice their religious rites away from Roman authorities. The catacombs consist of a series of narrow passageways and chambers, sometimes extending for miles. The walls and ceilings of the catacombs were adorned with murals that depicted biblical scenes and had references to Greek mythology. Some even had portraits of the deceased. The bodies were placed and sealed with tiles or marble slabs, with larger rooms being used as family tombs. The use of the catacombs saw a decline when Emperor Constantine came into power around the 4th century AD and Christianity was legalized. 14. Necropolis of El Tajín. Located in the Totonac region of modern-day Veracruz in Mexico, the Necropolis of El Tajín is a relic of a major city that dates back to the classic period of Mesoamerican history, that is, around 600 to 1200 AD. El Tajín was a flourishing city center known for its many architectural landmarks. Today, most of those landmarks are in ruins, but tourists are still able to visit the ancient burial grounds known as the Necropolis of El Tajín. Commoners from that period were buried in mass graves, whereas nobles and people of higher social status were buried in individual tombs constructed of stone featuring intricate designs. Some tombs are adorned with murals that depict the life and times of the El Tajín people, from their daily lives to their religious practices. The rich were also buried were artifacts from that time, as an offering made to the gods in the deceased's afterlife. 15. Cementerio de San Sebastián. The Cementerio de San Sebastián, also known as the Cemetery of San Sebastian, is a burial site named after Saint Sebastian, a Christian martyr. As Christianity spread, new burial practices emerged, emphasizing the belief in resurrection. This cemetery contained Christian graves, identifiable by symbols such as the cross, depictions of ichthys and such. The cemetery was built in 1821 near Yeseros, now an area in modern-day Madrid, by José Llorente. Throughout the years up until King Joseph I ordered the cemetery to be destroyed in 1925, San Sebastian saw a number of renovations and expansions. Notably, in 1844, 1852, and 1872, the cemetery was enlarged to include 5 courtyards. 16. Royal Cemetery at Ur. In 1922, Leonard Woolley led a team of archaeologists and researchers as they excavated an archaeological site in a modern-day Deccar in southern Iraq. The team was made up of researchers from the British Museum and the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, Philadelphia. It was believed that the ancient city of Ur was once a trade hub in the region, but after the Euphrates River changed its course, most of its inhabitants packed up and left. The ones that survived, that is. Woolley unearthed close to 2,000 graves from the area, including 16 that were believed to have belonged to royalty. Of those 16, 1 belonged to Mescalamdug, a Sumerian ruler of the First Dynasty. More interesting still was the discovery of massive grave pits. Woolley unearthed several of those pits in the region, some with remains of as few as 6 people and some with over 80. It's largely believed that whenever a royal from the Sumerians passed, they'd hold funeral ceremonies which included human sacrifices. 17. Shah-e-Sukte. In the southwestern part of Shah-e-Sukte, there is a vast graveyard measuring over 60 acres, containing over 40,000 ancient graves. Shah-e-Sukte, or the Burnt City, is a significant archaeological site located in the Sistan and Baluchistan province of southeastern Iran. Dating back to the Bronze Age, approximately 3,200 to 1800 BCE, Shah-e-Sukte was one of the largest and most advanced urban centers of its time. Today, remnants of the city are found near the Lut Desert, one of the hottest places on the planet. However, when early settlers appeared in the region, around 3550 BC, the climate was much more pleasant. That would be because of the Harmon Lake, located near the city, and the vast area it once covered before changing its course. More interesting still is the discovery of the golden eye, the world's earliest prosthetic instrument found in one of a cadaver's eye sockets. Archaeologists noted the evidence of early medical practices by examining the remains. 18. Necropolis of Pantalica. Located in Sicily, Italy, the Necropolis of Pantalica is a collection of grave sites notable for their rock-cut chamber tombs. The necropolis is believed to date back to the 13th and 7th century BC and housed well over 4,000 tombs by the time of its discovery. Pantalica was believed to have been a defensive center established in the 13th century BC. From then, until the Greeks colonized the region, Pantalica was believed to have been an important hub in Sicily. The city eventually went into decline, with many people moving away. Today, however, remnants of Pantalican people exist in the architectural structures that still stand to this day, including the burial chambers. The reason why these chambers withstood the test of time for so many centuries is because they were constructed within limestone rock. The chambers or tombs, therefore, had entryways, corridors, and large rooms intended for families. 19. Gabari Necropolis. One of the largest necropolises of the world, the Gabari Necropolis, or Kom el Malar, is located in Alexandria, Egypt. It also doubles as one of the oldest cemeteries the world has ever seen, with some of the deceased being first generations of Alexandria from 3 BCE. The Gabari Necropolis was discovered by road workers in June 1997, who were digging the site to expand the Alexandria district. During routine roadwork, the team located grave sites and informed local authorities, who then reached out to archaeologists from the CEA. 20. Père Lachaise Cemetery. The largest cemetery in Paris, the Père Lachaise Cemetery, was constructed in 1804 and named after Père François de Lachaise, remembered for being Louis XIV's confessor. When constructing the cemetery, Napoleon ordered that it would be open to everyone in the region, regardless of race and religion. Still, Roman Catholics initially refused to have their graves in a cemetery that hadn't been blessed by the church. When at the time of its opening, the Père Lachaise had only 13 graves. Despite Paris grave sites being almost filled in every other city, the administrators had an idea to drive up traffic. In 1817, Jean de La Fonnetine's body was exhumed and transferred to the Père Lachaise Cemetery. This was followed by the exhumation and transfer of the remains of other influential names, Molière, Pierre Abelard, and Héloïse d'Argenteuil. The cemetery is also home to a mass grave, where 147 soldiers were executed during the Bloody Week. The grim history, however, has been overshadowed by a lover's tradition, whereby lovelorn singles leave tributes to couples buried together at Père Lachaise, believing it'll help them find love too. 21. Giza Necropolis. Did you know that the Giza Pyramid Complex, one of the world's most iconic tourist attractions, is also known as the Giza Necropolis? That's because outside of the allure of the vast pyramids, the grim reality is that the site served as a burial ground for the rich and influential kings and queens of Egypt. The necropolis dates back to 2580 BCE and is home to cultural landmarks, the Great Pyramids of Giza, including the Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Pyramid of Khafre, and the Great Sphinx. The Great Pyramid of Khufu is the largest structure, originally built as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu from an estimated 2.3 million blocks of limestone. The Pyramid of Khafre is slightly smaller. However, it was built along with the Great Sphinx, a statue of a half-lion, half-human hybrid. The head is believed to represent Khafre himself. The trio of royal tombs is completed with the Pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three structures. However, numerous small tombs and mastabas surround the region for officials and nobles of the time. Each tomb is unique in its own way, although they pale in comparison to the Great Pyramids. The tombs are adorned with gold, and the deceased were buried with many expensive artifacts. Most of them, however, have been stolen by tomb robbers. What largely remains are the murals and inscriptions that depict the life, religion, and culture of the people of Egypt. 22. Valley of the Kings. The 1922 excavation of the body of the young king, King Tut, marked a significant moment in Egyptology. However, King Tutankhamun was merely one of several people from ancient Egypt who'd been buried in the world's most iconic necropolis, the Valley of the Kings. Located along the west bank of the Nile River, the Valley of the Kings was reserved exclusively for pharaohs, their queens, and high-ranking nobles who'd proved themselves worthy during their lifetime. The valley consists of two parts, the East Valley and the West Valley. Remains of pharaohs and their queens are found in the East Valley. Most of the remains, identified by the intricate murals on the tomb walls, are from the New Kingdom period, that is, from the 16th century to the 11th century BCE. Besides King Tut, The Valley of the Kings is also the final resting place of Ramses II, one of the greatest pharaohs ancient Egypt had ever seen. Likewise, Seti I, Amenhotep III, and several other pharaohs are also buried here. With the several hundreds of civilizations that have come before us, we can only wonder how many more necropolises remain hidden underneath the Earth's surface.